of Russia, Chinese President Xi Jinping described his visit to Russia as productive and said it will provide new momentum for the healthy and stable development of bilateral relations. In France, the government narrowly survived 2 votes of no confidence amid nationwide protests after it forced through an increase in the pension age to 64. And in Kenya, citizens took to the streets for a day of action to protest against the country's cost of living crisis. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The first Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, expressed his full support to the actions initiated by the government as part of the fight against corruption. During a press conference, the leader pointed out that the political organization will not cover up any criminal act and that it will continue to support the fight against anti-values and influence peddling. At the same time, the leader ratified that the revolution has no room for the corrupt and added that whoever steals is not considered revolutionary.
The Party of Venezuela is at the forefront with precise instructions from our president Nicolás Maduro of the fight against the scourge of corruption and any vice that may arise. In Venezuela, and I say this to those who are celebrating, corruption has never been denounced as in the government of Commander Chavez and President Nicolás Maduro.
Diosdado Cabello also expressed his support to the actions initiated by the government as part of the fight against corruption.
After an investigation, the anti-corruption police will take action, and we immediately support them. The United Solidarity Party of Venezuela will never be in complicity. On the contrary, we have always been on the offensive, denouncing.
In this context, the Venezuelan Minister of Oil, Tarek Al-Aissami, presented his resignation this Monday. Al-Aissami announced his decision on his Twitter account, adding that he does so to fully support the process promoted by the government to fight the scourge of corruption. The official stated that as a revolutionary, he placed himself at the disposal of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela's leadership to support President Nicolás Maduro's crusade against the anti-values that, as representatives of the people, they are obliged to fight against. In Argentina, the Third World Forum on Human Rights opened this Monday in Buenos Aires with the participation of personalities from more than 70 countries in the framework of the celebrations for the country's 40th anniversary of democracy. The forum will analyze the progress and challenges in countering discrimination, the fight for climate change, gender equality, and human trafficking. Likewise, the forum will also include more than 150 lectures by former presidents of Uruguay, José Pepe Mujica, Evo Morales of Bolivia, and Rafael Correa of Ecuador, among others. The program also includes a festival for the 40 years of democracy and human rights and will finish with a march for the National Day of Memory, Truth, and Justice. The Dominican Republic will soon be the Ibero-American capital when it hosts the 28th Summit of Heads of States and Government from March 22nd to the 25th, said the Minister of Foreign Affairs of that nation, Roberto Alvarez, on Monday. In a press conference from the headquarters of the Foreign Ministry, Alvarez indicated that the summit will host representatives from the 22 member nations, and so far, some 14 heads of states are expected to attend. The head of the Dominican diplomacy explained that it will be the first face-to-face summit since 2019 due to the pandemic. He specified that before the summit, a business forum will be held at the Sanssouci Convention Center in Santo Domingo. Regarding the issue of Haiti, he said that the summit will discuss the migratory issue. However, he did not assure that it will talk specifically about the crisis in the neighboring country. Let us take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. Russian President Vladimir Putin held an informal meeting with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, who arrived in Moscow on Monday morning on a state visit. At the beginning of his speech, Putin praised the economic and political system of the Asian country, valuing the outstanding scientific and economic progress, which is very effective. According to the Russian president, China follows the principles of justice and the fundamental principles of international law. The Russian president pointed out that he has examined in depth the peace plan for Ukraine presented by Beijing and informed his Chinese counterpart that it will be discussed during the visit. For his part, Xi Jinping expressed his gratitude and described the relations with Russia as excellent. Chinese President Xi Jinping said his nation highly values its relationship with Russia.
China attaches great importance to the China-Russia relations, and there are historical logics behind this, because we are each other's biggest neighboring country, as well as strategic partners. This determines that we are a very close relationship with each other.
Also, President Xi expressed hope that China-Russia relations would help maintain international justice and achieve the common prosperity of the two countries.
We hope that the strategic partnership between China and Russia will on the one hand uphold international fairness and justice, and on the other hand promote the common prosperity and development of our countries. Thank you, Mr. President, for warmly inviting me to the one-on-one informal talk between friends today. I'm very willing to exchange in-depth views with you on bilateral relations and matters of common concerns.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said that his country, as well as those of Africa, the Middle East and Latin America, are opposed to a colonial ideology and that together they are the world's majority. He made the comments at an international parliamentary conference, Russia, Africa in a multipolar world. Putin said Africa will become one of the leaders of the new multipolar world order. Putin also announced the cancellation of the debt of more than $20 billion to African countries. President Putin said that the turnover of mutual trade with the African region is growing every year and that in 2022 it reached almost $18 billion and he pledged to provide free food to needy African countries if the grain agreement is not renewed within 60 days.
Guided primarily by the needs of African countries, Russia recently agreed to prolong for another 60 days the agreement secured in Istanbul on the export of Ukrainian food supplies through the Black Sea and the unblocking of Russian agricultural exports and supplies of fertilizers. At the same time, we insist that the substance of this deal is primarily in the interest of African and other developing countries.
Russia has begun its 2023 chairmanship of the Eurasian Economic Union as the trade bloc faces increasing potential for expansion and development. Let's see the following report.
Integration is the key to development. The Eurasian Economic Union provides unique opportunities for its member states. The key to further economic growth is the reduction of existing barriers and the stimulation of investment. This was discussed by the participants in a roundtable on the development of the EAEU. It was held in Moscow.
If we are talking about the investment activities, there are indeed state investment. They are easier to deal with. They are discussed at interstate meeting of the EAEU, and there are private investments, and in order to influence the nature of investment, their direction, it is necessary to create certain investment incentives.
Growth is about 10% over 2022. The volume of trade within the EAEU is breaking records. According to the Eurasian Development Bank, it has exceeded $80 billion. The authors of the development of the EAEU 2022 Plus Strategic Challenges and Demands of Time report devoted their study to the results and prospects of the bloc's development. The presentation of the work was part of the meeting.
The authors of the report managed to identify clearly enough the main properties of the EAEU development, taking into account internal and external aspects of the organization's development. The problems that currently exist have been outlined. Those are challenges that are currently facing the organization.
These include integrating financial systems and strengthening industrial cooperation. The authors of the report paid special attention to the social aspects of cooperation within the EAEU. They studied the attitudes of residents to a variety of problems in the development of bilateral relations within the bloc. Part of the discussion was devoted to the interaction of the EAEU countries with the BRICS and other associations.
There is a model such as BRICS Plus, i.e., through the BRICS members, it is possible to reach entire continents. Through Brazil, you can intensify your trade and economic relations with large numbers of partners in Latin America. Similarly, it is also possible to enter African markets through South Africa.
Experts, researchers, lecturers, postgraduates, and students from leading Russian universities also participated in the roundtable.
I liked the way the experts assessed the prospect for the EIEU in the foreseeable future until 2030, 2045. It was also interesting to hear about the problems because often they are mentioned rather superficially. There was a full analysis here.
The roundtable was organized by the Russian International Affairs Council. Its experts regularly carried out scientific research. For instance, every year they present an analysis of the development of Russian-Chinese relations. They also implement joint projects with partners of the PRC, India, and other countries.
Russian ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenshyan, pointed out that the United States never acknowledged that its reasons for invading Iraq turned out to be false. 20 years after the U.S. invasion of Iraq, the Russian diplomat stressed that the alleged weapons of mass destruction on Iraqi territory were never found, allegations that were never proven by the U.S. government. On the contrary, Nebenshyan noted that the invasion caused, among several disasters, political instability in the entire Middle East region, as well as the rise of terrorist organizations which, according to the Russian official, Washington will be the architect of the self-proclaimed Islamic State. Vasily Nebenshyan also pointed out that the White House did not apologize for the thousands of civilian casualties caused by the invasion before the withdrawal of its forces in 2011. On Monday, the French government narrowly survived a vote of no confidence, which was triggered when it forced through an increase in the pension age to 64. The vote, tabled by centrist MPs, had 278 votes in favor, falling short of the 287 votes needed. If it had been successful, Emmanuel Macron would have had to name a new government or call new elections. A second no-confidence motion tabled by Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally Party also did not pass. Now both votes have failed. The new controversial bill to raise the retirement age from 60 to 64 will become law. The votes were held after Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne used a special constitutional power called Article 393 to push the bill through without a vote last week. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, Dial 461, and enjoy a Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break, and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back From the South. On Monday, Kenyans took to the streets for a day of action called by the opposition despite a ban on demonstrations. In Nairobi and other parts of the nation, demonstrators protested the country's cost of living crisis. Local media says several demonstrators and some opposition legislators had been arrested in protest in the capital. Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki issued a statement on Sunday warning that anyone inciting public disorder or disturbing the peace will be prosecuted. Kenyans are suffering from surging prices for basic necessities, as well as a sharp drop in the local shilling against the US dollar and a drought that has left millions hungry.
I came because the cost of living is high. School fees, hospitals, everything is expensive. There's no way a common citizen can afford this lifestyle.
You can see, everything is messed up. The price of maize flour has gone up, petrol has gone up, the cost of living has gone up. Everything Ruto was telling us when we voted for him, it was totally lies.
We are here trying to fight for our rights. Yeah. So life is so hard. If you see, there's young men and women. We don't have job. People are losing their jobs. So we are tired about this. So that's why we are talking about our rights.
The United States has determined that Ethiopian and Eritrean armed forces as well as Tigrayan rebels committed war crimes during the two-year bloody conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region, U.S. diplomatic chief Antony Blinken said on Monday. Blinken, who had sounded upbeat in Ethiopia about the prospects for a peace after a breakthrough November 2nd accord, made a forceful call for accountability. Blinken added that the State Department also found crimes against humanity by Ethiopian, Eritrean and Amhara forces, although he did not mention the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front. The U.S. official urged the government of Ethiopia and of Eritrea as well as the TPLF to hold those responsible for these atrocities accountable. The United States has previously estimated that some 500,000 people died in the two-year conflict, making it one of the deadliest wars of the 21st century. On Monday, the Patriarchate of Jerusalem has issued an appeal for international protection of holy sites following an attack by fundamentalist Israelis on a church in occupied East Jerusalem on Sunday. According to a statement issued by the Patriarchate of Jerusalem, terrorist attacks by radical Israeli groups targeting churches, cemeteries, and Christian properties, in addition to physical and verbal abuse against Christian clergy, have become almost daily. Sunday's attack on worshippers on one of the Asian churches in occupied East Jerusalem is the third one this year, after a Jewish U.S. citizen vandalized a statue at a Catholic church inside the old city near Bab al-Asbat. The Patriarchate called upon the international community to provide security and protection to the Christians of Jerusalem and their holy places, including the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Some 230,000 Jewish settlers illegally live in occupied East Jerusalem. Israeli-Palestinian peace negotiations have been stalled since 2014, and Israeli-Palestinian violence has worsened this year. In Ecuador, 489 people were injured in the 6.5 magnitude earthquake that took place this Saturday in the province of Guayas in the coastal area of Ecuador, and which left 14 dead until Monday. According to the report, 1,108 people were affected by the telluric movement, while 237 houses were affected, in addition to 148 educational centers, 33 public goods, 48 health centers, among other damages. Director of the Geophysical Institute, Mario Ruiz, explained that the earthquake, which also had repercussions in Peruvian territory, occurred due to the fracturing of the upper part of the Nazca Plate. The President of Ecuador, Guillermo Lasso, declared a state of exception without restriction of rights as one of the actions to attend areas affected by the earthquake and rains as a consequence of the winter season. The earthquake of March 18, 2023 became the strongest telluric movement that Ecuador has endured since the earthquake that hit Manabi and Esmeraldas on April 16, 2016. On Monday, the Director General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, in the report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, says that it is a survival guide for humanity, as it shows the 1.5-degree limit is achievable, but all governments and every sector on the world have to take fast efforts and to take action in all fronts and directions on climate change.
But today's IPCC report is a how-to guide to defuse the climate time bomb. It is a survival guide for humanity. As it shows, the 1.5-degree limit is achievable, but it will take a quantum leap in climate action. This report is a clarion call to massively fast-track climate efforts by every country and every sector and on every time frame. In short, our world needs climate action on all fronts, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Also, Antonio Guterres emphasized that the governments must create an enabling policy and regulatory environment where every sector must be aligned with net zero by 2050.
Governments need the assurance that business leaders will help them deliver on extra efforts, but government must also create an enabling policy and regulatory environment. Shipping, aviation, steel, cement, aluminum, agriculture, every sector must be aligned with net zero by 2050 with clear plans, including interim targets to get there. At the same time, we need to seize the opportunity to invest in credible innovations that can contribute to reaching our global targets.
We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.